Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick teardown of the Gigabyte Aero 15. Now, this is the XC model that I've been reviewing, a phenomenal laptop, arguably, in my opinion, one of the best on the market right now, and pretty easy to upgrade. So basically, just make sure you're powered down, make sure that you're not bringing any conductivity to this, so ground yourself before opening this bad boy up. You've got a dozen T6 screws that you're going to have to go after. You can see they're all over the chassis. I'm going to do that right now. I will include a link in the description to the iFixit kit, not expensive, that you might need if you already have a T6. Great, but I recommend these because they pretty much give you everything that you need to deal with things like this and many other pieces of tech out there. By the way, I have no affiliation with Gigabyte or iFixit. Sabrent drives are what I have inside. You're about to see I've got a 4 terabyte Rocket Q and a 2 terabyte Rocket 4 Plus. That is a 4th gen NVMe drive. I'll include links in the description to those, and I essentially cloned the Kingston that was in here using this Sabrent. By the way, Sabrent did furnish these to me for review purposes. Highly recommend this drive. It's like 120 bucks, and it can act as a dual NVMe Type-C drive, high speed, not Thunderbolt, but still high speed, and then do offline cloning, but it does require hardline power. You cannot use this just over Type-C or Thunderbolt. You do need to actually use its power brick. And again, the offline cloning took me about 20 minutes. You just have to make sure that your source drive is in A and the drive that you're cloning to is in B, and you're good to go. And it's really just a matter of a few button presses and then just waiting. It took a total of 20 minutes, and I had 3/4 of the 1 terabyte Kingston drive inside of this, basically to clone completely. Now, it wasn't that simple though. I will tell you that when I cloned it, because the Kingston drive was smaller, and that's something you have to be aware of, okay? This is yet another thing. If you plan on upgrading the drive here, know that you will need to have a drive that is at least exactly the same size or larger than the drive you are cloning. If you try to do this with a drive that is smaller, and a buddy of mine went through this, you will not be able to clone it. So just be aware of that. In addition to that, another thing you need to know is that if, like in my case, you're cloning the 1 terabyte to a 2 terabyte, you're not going to be able to utilize that to, or rather, it's going to clone just at a 1 terabyte capacity. So in order to utilize the rest, you're going to have to essentially get rid of partitions. Not a big deal. If you have questions about that, I'll be happy to point you in the right direction. It's nothing crazy, but just know that when you get things set up, you're going to be surprised. You'll have the surprise, at least, of seeing that you don't have all 2 terabytes allocated. It's going to show a healthy partition, basically. I don't know, it seems like I'm missing the screw. I got it. It's going to show that you have essentially another 1 terabyte drive, and it's going to take, just getting into the command prompt and doing a little bit of work in order to get it. It's not any big deal. I'm going to actually just leave that in there and make life a little bit easier for myself. I'm removing every screw like the genius, so that I'll have to go through having to put them all back in place. And, one of the big draws with this machine is that, you do have the ability to retain dual channel performance. I'm doing a bit of a reach here. I'm going to actually turn the machine altogether, I think, because I can't really get to it on this angle. You do have the ability to retain dual channel performance because both DIMMs are user accessible, which I think is a really big deal. The Asus G15, as much as I love it, that soldered RAM makes it so that even though you can take the machine up to 40 gigs of RAM, your ability to have dual channel ends at 16, and that's a sad story, isn't it? Now, I'm sorry I didn't do this faster for all of you. I mean, I could have been more efficient by using the method I am now, using the tool properly. But sometimes when you do things unscripted, unedited, it's the way life goes. So we should have all the screws out now. I believe I have, let me just take a peek. Because again, the top-down view you're getting and the top-down view I have, very different. It looks like I have one that I did not unscrew. Let's get that one out. If I did, oh, I did. I did unscrew it. So now it's a matter of just getting this guy open. So you have to be careful. You know, you want to separate it without damaging anything, obviously. And basically, you're just going to look for a good pry point and use pry point tool. What they've got here, you can go with this or the guitar pick style piece. I prefer this just because it gives you a little bit more leverage. I'm trying to think of where the best spot. I'm trying to remember what I hit with it originally. Probably start right here. Get this back in frame for you and just go to work. So I don't remember which side was more malleable, but we'll get it. So there we go. I'm already beginning to get things a-poppin', and looks like we're on our way. And, you know, immediately when you see this machine, you can tell the lengths they went to get it right. And I say that because the Aero in the past was just a hot mess, literally. I mean, thermal throttling was its calling card. Now, go ahead and zoom in here so you can get a really good look at the internals. And there you have it. So the Rocket 4 Plus, as you can see, seated right there. And, you know, they do include thermal pads for the NVMe's, so be aware of that. Basically, as I mentioned in other videos, the Wi-Fi chipset right there is user upgradable. The RAM, of course, upgradable up to 64 gigs. You know, these two drives, I mean, in my opinion, this is one of the best pairings you could possibly go with. But if I could only settle on one, I'd probably go with the Sabrent 4 terabyte, just because with the board, the chipset only supporting third-gen PCIe NVMe drives, the performance is really close between these two, and I'd rather have the extra capacity for both gaming and photo and video editing. But then removing them, really simple. Here, I'm going in with the T6. As I tell you, it's really simple. You want to go to a Phillips head. So we're talking about, I believe what I used was this guy right here. We're going to find out quickly, aren't we? Whether or not that was the Phillips head that I used. Yes, it was. And that is the 0. And it's really straightforward. You know, you just loosen that up. Don't lose your screws, folks. Do not lose or confuse. And bing, bang, boom. That's it. We've got the 4 terabyte Sabrent out. And the upgrade process, the install, you're seeing it in reverse. It's exactly, what I'm doing now. Really simple stuff, nothing complex, nothing complicated, And that's why I wanted everyone to see this process in the event they were looking to make the upgrade. I recommend using this for your little screw holder, so to speak. Out comes this guy. Now, I'm going to be putting for demo purposes, we'll put the Kingston back in here. Okay, I think that makes sense. I've got the silly putty in hand. Put the silly putty down for a second. I'm trying to figure out a good spot. That looks nice. And the Kingston, remember, I have in the cloning enclosure. Also really easy to pop that out. Now, whether or not you'd want to take this up to 64 is your, own option, obviously. I don't think it's necessary. I just don't think we're at a point where 64 gigs on a laptop, even of this prowess, is necessary. You can already see some, not too much dust is built up on those fans, but boy, they're not kidding when they tell you they have over 70 blades on the fans. So the Kingston drive, which you can barely even see the Kingston branding on. It's super strange stuff, huh? It's like it's rubbed off. Anyway, Kingston drive. Let's get this into position. Okay. Good stuff. Let's put our silly putty back on the drive. Looks good. Well, pretty good. Let's make sure we get it on as it should be. We do not want it clipping the Wi-Fi there. Probably should have done this prior. That looks good. A little deformed. Got a little deformed, didn't it? Let's try it in the other orientation. That might make me a little bit, feel a little bit better about what I'm doing here. Yeah, I think that's better. It kind of looks exactly the same, doesn't it? All right, and let's now screw that back in. Remember, these are the smaller Phillips, no T6 involved here. Make sure that's seated properly, and go ahead and, you don't want to literally drop this, because if you literally drop it, you're kind of up shit's creek. You don't want this hitting the board. That is not an ideal situation. So it is magnetic. Remember that. Magnets are your friends, at least when it comes to screwdrivers. And almost forgot righty-tighty there. Bing, bang, boom. The silly putty is on. And that is the process. So now we're back to the original drive. Again, the upgrade process would be no different. Exact same course of action. Nothing different here in terms of what you're going to need to do. And yeah, that's the whole deal. Whole kit and caboodle. Make sure that you replace that screw in this slot. You don't want to lose it in the event that you need it. So let's go ahead and put that screw back in place. And, overall, I think that the craftsmanship, the build quality, it all comes across on this machine. And the ability to upgrade is something that I really expect from machines like this. When a machine like this doesn't let you upgrade, you've got a problem. And, there are a lot of manufacturers that do not want you to have the ability to make the changes you just watched me make. And that's just not cool. What else can I tell you? Now, there you have it. We're back in place. Let's go ahead and drop the frame back on. And not really much to talk about on the other side of the frame. I was just giving it a quick scan, but there really isn't anything to talk about there. Line that up. Make sure you pop it on. And then we start some screwing. We screw this thing back. Looks like we're pretty much popped into place. Let's go back to our T6. And begin the screw job. So we'll start in the middle. Pulling them out rather than putting them in, huh? Nope. Don't come out. Work with me, work with me. It's getting the extreme close-up now, and I'm having a problem threading this. There we go. Nice and tight. Let's see, missing screws here. Let's go ahead and get those in. And you know, 2 of the screws on this machine, I think I mentioned this at the top of the video, Gigabyte puts a sticker on, which you can see it right there, which if the premise here is that they're trying to say you voided warranty, then that's not cool because it makes no sense. They've made it abundantly clear that they expect you to upgrade the drives, or at least one of, because they include thermal pads. So I really don't understand what the methodology there is, but that's their problem, not ours. But I am going to try to put them back from whence they came. Here's the other one with the sticker. So let's put it back in its slot. And again, this is something that I'm not going to tell you, you know, grab a beer, have a drink while you're doing, because you need both hands. And you don't want to screw this up, do you? It's important. It's therapeutic for some, not so much for others. So let's see, what else do I have left here? Those guys are in. Those guys are in. This is not tightened, so let's leave this. So it's the only screw remaining that I've got to get. I've got to find the hole, so to speak. So these are all tightened up. Oh, and there's the hole, isn't it? Remember, I don't have the top-down view that all of you have watching this, but we're getting there. We're almost done. And then I'll boot it to make sure, of course. Okay, this is spinning too much. Not sure why. There we go. I must have not been threaded. No, that's still spinning. Weird. I don't know why, but we'll get it. We'll make it work one way or another. Okay, this is odd. Haven't had this problem so far. So this screw is acting like something is up. Let's turn the machine around and take a look, shall we? Not sure why it's acting like that, but let me go ahead and make this a little bit wider. We'll figure out what's going on here. I need a little bit of a better angle to work on the rest of this. I'm going to thread the rest of these screws. That is very strange that that one decided not to play ball, but I'm sure we'll get it, so I'm not worried. It's not some, I've already been here, done that, been there, done that, however you want to put it. So I'm not too concerned. You can see the Barkley fur is there. That's my lab, for those of you that are wondering. Barks, how do you find your way into everything? And I think now that lone screw is the last one. I might have to tighten this guy right here. Another sight unseen, yep. Let's go ahead and tighten that guy up. All right, so the last one is the one that doesn't want to play ball, so we're going to try again. To my knowledge, none of these screws are a different length. I know you're not seeing this on camera, but that's not that critical at this point. You've gotten the idea. And there we go. Now we're tight. I don't know what I was doing there, but here's the good news, folks. All of the screws are where they need to be. Looks like the seal is good to me. What do you think? Everything's flush. No creaking. Now, I would say to you, you don't want to, oh, we got a little bit of a separation there. That's fixed very easily. And that's it. You don't want to over tighten these or strip these. Please be careful. I should have said that at the top of the video. If you strip these, I mean, you can always get more T6 screws, but you don't want to make yourself nuts. And it's pretty easy to handle this with care. Granted, this was a 20-minute video, but you know, if I wasn't doing this on camera and didn't have to reach to do this, it would have been a faster process, no question about it. But there you have it. This may have been a downgrade, but the upgrade process is exactly the same. It's opening it up, it's popping those drives in, closing it back up. And again, just having the right tools, making sure that you don't bring any static into the picture. And let's just now boot it up, make sure we're good, which I have full faith that we are. Been there, done that already. Close that webcam. Got the Gigabyte splash. Get this in frame for you. And I mean, it really is fairly simple. So figure if this takes you 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and then the cloning process takes you, you know, about 20 minutes. And then you're going to have to also deal with what I mentioned in terms of the, if you do a clone to a larger drive like I did, a 1 to a 2 terabyte, you will have to eliminate partitions through the command prompt. It's not hard, it's just, it's going to take a few minutes. So I would call this whole process like an hour for a knowledgeable user. It could be less or more on any given day, but that's it. We're in business. It works. We're back to the desktop. Don't worry, be happy. And that's it, folks. This again was a teardown of the Aero 15 by Gigabyte. This is the XC. Highly recommend this as well as the KC model. They are two of the best in the business right now. You've got, you know, I've shared with you a little iFixit tool set you're going to need that combines the pry as well as the T6 screwdriver and a lot of other heads. This is just worth owning, in my opinion. And then, of course, the other accessories I brought out, the Sabrent cloning drive, really a great thing to own, in my opinion. One of the, I think it's great for anyone to own, just because it's fantastic to be able to back up drives independently without a PC. So I think this is a brilliant little device, just a fan on top of two drives. Remember, even though it has Type-C, I mentioned earlier, you need to use the DC adapter. And then, you know, the two drives that I used here, the two Sabrents, the 4 and the 2 terabyte. These, in my opinion, are two of the best in the business. No question about it. Really great SSDs, really NVMe drives that are ideal for gaming, content creation, and the like. You're not going to do better than these two right here. You know, you're just not. And that rounds it out. Again, a teardown, upgrade, downgrade, however you want to look at it, cloning explanation with the Aero 15 and Sabrent drives and the iFixit tool set. There you have it all. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button. And as usual, please feel free to subscribe and please stay safe. Later.